Said that the internet usage, it's been increased by 88 million minutes. What I would like to know is, what are they using it for? Like, what is happening in those 88 million minutes? Are they like preaching the gospel, or are they just like pleasing themselves, like games or anything? Like with all those 88 million minutes, only about like 600 minutes maximum would be used to preach the gospel. That's what I'm saying, but yeah. And she also said that she's a 9th grade girl and everything, and she's going to be a preacher or a speaker. But the Bible says in James that we should be a doer of the word, not just a thinker or a hearer. So, a woman was sitting at a well, lonely and depressed. A short man was scurrying up a tree to see a great man amongst the crowd. A centurion looked at a sacrifice on the cross and was amazed. And the thief looked at a humble man dying next to him for the sins of his people. There is a similarity in all these incidents. The man I am talking about is the Messiah, Jesus Christ. He didn't use any fancy way of spreading the gospel. He used a foolproof and expressive method that is still used about 2,000 years later after his death by missionaries across the world. That method is a one-on-one interaction between two people in which senses are stimulated, emotions are touched, there is a change of heart, and the believer is brought to Christ. So why should we stray from the method that Jesus used? Since if he used it, why shouldn't we? There is about 7 billion people in this world, like Gerald said, and 1.5 of these billion people have access to the internet. And only 793 million people are educated. How then can we reach these people? For them, technology is like reaching the moon. Well, the answer is traditional media. Many missionaries are using this method to bring people to Christ. They are following Jesus' example of when he was preaching on the Sea of Galilee to many crowds and multitudes. This brings me to one of my many important points. What is the #1 problem in America? The answer: depression, discomfort, and loneliness. Because of this, many children grow up in poor homes. Many prisoners are men who grew up in homes where their fathers were absent. Also, the suicide rate has risen drastically. The suicide rate for people aged 35 to 54 increased nearly 30% between 1999 and 2010. For men in their 50s, it rose nearly 50%. And as I stated before, it is all because they are depressed, discomfortable, and lonely. This is where traditional media comes in. Through one-on-one interactions, people can talk to the other people who've gone through the same problem but have overcome them successfully. Traditional media has a personal touch and a human experience which social media cannot deliver. This is one of the many ways in how social media is ineffective of spreading the gospel. Social media, as the name implies, is mainly used to socialize, as in with friends and family, not to talk about God or with God. Social media is devoid of human emotions. Though we can tell or post a message, it cannot fully express the thought as a human would to another human being. And also, what is the possibility that a person could read this post? What are the chances of him saying, "Oh, how can I be saved?" And even if they do read the post, will they even think about changing, or will they even want to know who this God or Jesus Christ is? Instead of just sitting down and just posting verses or sending emails on computers, we should be doers of the world, just like it says in James 1:22. We ourselves are traditional media, just like Jesus said. We should go and bring back people to Christ, just as missionaries are doing around the world. We should not think of the easy way out, but think of the paraphrase. What would Jesus do? A month ago, we went to Feed My Starving Children, which is an organization which uses traditional media effectively. What that organization does is they give food to starving people, starving children, to satisfy their hunger. And then they give them soap so that they can clean themselves. And then it gives them the spiritual food, salvation. So, traditional media provides soup, soap, and salvation. With social media, and also, respected judge, just remember that, well, just remember that when you're making your judgment call, just remember that your grandparents and your ancestors wouldn't have been like converted to Christianity unless it was with traditional media.
Okay, I'll try you. That's a good point.
So with this, I'd like to close by saying, without social media, there can still be traditional media. But without traditional media, there can be no social media.
Excellent.
I'd like to thank I'd like to thank Charles Uncle for giving me this opportunity. Mentoring me, and I thank you for Hannah and Auntie for spending her time. Thank you.